Hi everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the first of a very special series on the channel where I'm going to be going to a different game every weekend, up and down the English Pyramid, possibly even across Europe as well, depending on various factors. Bringing you my thoughts on each game, on each club, on each atmosphere, everything in and out, telling you different stories, finding different things out. Really excited for this independent project that I'm doing. The first game is Manchester City against Southampton. The thoughts about full time as City look to continue their charge for a fifth successive title under Pep Guardiola. Let's see if they can beat a Southampton side that are struggling at the start of the season. Lots of pressure building on Russell Martin. Today is not the game that he will like to be facing. But yeah, join me on this epic journey across the season, starting at the very top of the Etihad Stadium, Manchester City against Southampton. Kevin De Bruyne for Manchester City, but Oscar Bob is on the bench. A couple of changes for Southampton as well. What can you say about that? Manchester City have beaten Southampton 1-0 here at the Etihad Stadium, but it wasn't a classic game, it wasn't a classic performance. I've left this game thinking that something quite wrong with City or missing with City, and it isn't just Kevin De Bruyne, it isn't just Rodri, it isn't just Jack Grealish and Jeremy Doku. There's something that just doesn't feel quite right about City. They didn't have that extra punch, they didn't need it. They wrapped the game up within 5 minutes when Haaland scored. Yes, Southampton had a couple of chances in the second half and they broke a couple of times, but there's an amazing ability at the Etihad and around these places not to feel any sort of jeopardy. I don't see that as a criticism of Man City that many people do. Lots of people say it's saturated, it's not real, it's plastic, but you know, it's just to do with the fact that Manchester City are so much better than everybody else. I think that's the main reason why it feels a little bit like there's that lack of jeopardy. Pep Guardiola is on the touchline, and that is why Manchester City is so much better than everybody else. I'll stand by that. He is their trump card, nobody else, not even Erling Haaland. Although it's 10 goals this season in the Premier League out of 19 altogether, there's no other players who are joining. And yes, Grealish isn't around, yes, Doku isn't around, but the worry that I have for City is it's not a tactical thing. As I say, Guardiola is still Pep Guardiola. He's still making those tactical tweaks. He's still ahead of everybody else in terms of innovations. He's still the man that everybody knows that he is. But he's made those changes. He's brought Savinho in to deal with the low blocks. He's brought Doku, and obviously Doku's not playing today. But there was still a lack of punch. It wasn't that Savinho didn't get into the game. It wasn't that Foden didn't get into the game. I mean, there was some beautiful little touches from Bernardo Silva. It was just that lack of extra something at the end. There was a breakaway towards the end of the game where Foden had space. He could have driven forward and gone and got that second goal. He didn't do it, and it was just a sort of lack of punch in City that isn't going to cost them too much, because in games like this, teams come and sit deep and don't have that many chances. And every time Southampton went forward, it was like a now or never sort of thing. It didn't feel like they were going to carve out too many chances. So they were never in any danger. But it still felt like City just lacked something that, you know, in 2017, 2018 when they were scoring all those goals, they had goals from out wide. And it is maybe a deliberate thing from City to sort of try and break teams down and be a bit more creative in the middle, but they do lack something. It isn't about being boring. As I say, I'm not here to level those criticisms at City in the way that many people do. It just feels that they're lacking something that they had in previous years that I think could ultimately cost them if Liverpool keep going like they are, Arsenal keep going. Yes, City they've got De Bruyne to come back, although Guardiola is less than certain on when that'll be. They've got Doku to come back. They've got, obviously they'll be without Rodri also. So it doesn't feel like they miss Rodri. I mean, midfield wise, they were still very good. I mean, Rico Lewis was excellent today, I thought, in possession at right back as well. So they're not missing Kyle Walker either. But they're still the team that they still look like a Pep Guardiola team. They're still able to react to big players missing, but it just feels like it's a fundamental issue. And to be here today, on the first of this journey, as I say, I'll be at a different game every weekend from a different level, trying to sort of bring you interesting angles on certain things. Obviously, it's difficult from a City game because everybody knows the story, everyone knows what City are like, everyone knows what they bring. But there feels like there could be something more to come, that they need something more if they're going to really push on this season in ways that they have done in previous years. As I say, 2017-18, when they got 100 points, they had Sane and Sterling out wide. When De Bruyne wasn't there, it still happened. Now it kind of feels like Haaland scores or they don't. Top scorers, I think, off the top of my head, and obviously Haaland is the Premier League top scorer, but the issue beyond that is that Kovacic is the next top scorer with 3 goals. There is a serious lack of penetration and oomph and something coming from other places that I think is a bit of a concern for City. But ultimately, this place knew that it had won the game after 5 minutes. There's an air of expectation when you walk up to the stadium from across the bridge from the Joy Stadium where I had to go and get my accreditation. You just feel it. It just feels like everybody expects the victory, and obviously that is natural. I don't want to sound like that's a criticism, because it isn't, because I think that's just what football is like at that level. When you are as good as City are and you have a manager like Pep Guardiola on the touchline, you're going to win most games, and it just becomes that lack of fear. And admittedly there was a little bit when there was a corner at the end, but it just felt like City knew that they'd won the game and they didn't really need to get out of second gear. Southampton still winless. They still look like they're struggling for an identity when they can't dominate the ball. They did have a bit of possession in the opening 5 minutes, but lost all that momentum when Haaland scored. From that moment on, it was done. As I say, Adam Armstrong did have a couple of chances, but ultimately not really anything to really shout about. So on my reflections on this, the first day of this new journey across English and European football, this is the pinnacle. You can understand why Manchester City are the best team in the world, but no other team I've seen have that sort of impact on opposition, where a goal goes in after 5 minutes and that ultimately feels like that's it. And as I say, City didn't need to get out of second gear, and maybe they can go on, maybe they will go on and do more, but it just felt like, as I say, I think there was something that was lacking in that second half, and it didn't feel like it was just that De Bruyne wasn't on the pitch, just that Doku wasn't on the pitch, because Guardiola's made those changes. They were overplaying in the first half. It kind of feels like if Haaland isn't there to break through and make something happen, then what else happens? That is a question that they do need to answer. Obviously they lost Julian Alvarez in the summer and haven't replaced him. Ilkay Gundogan came on in the second half, but he doesn't have the same impact on the team that he did a couple of years ago, in my opinion. This is a City team, as I say. You can see why they are the best team. And I really wanted to start the journey across English and European football, watching the best team and seeing what the standards that everybody had to meet in terms of. You come to the Etihad off the pitch as well. It's an amazing. The Etihad campus is an amazing place, and you walk through everything, but it just feels a little bit. I don't want to say sanitised. It's not sanitised. It's more that it feels like everybody knows that there's that lack of jeopardy, and I think that comes from Pep Guardiola being on the touchline. Whether that'll be the case next season, obviously Hugo Viana taking over as sporting director from Chiqui Pagiraskine. Guardiola's yet to confirm that he's going to be here next season. I do think that the gap would close instantly without Guardiola on the touchline. I don't think City are this untouchable force. I think Guardiola has made them that, and without him, and I think they got through again on mentality, on what Guardiola being on the touchline does. And there were a couple of tactical little tweaks. I mean, Matheus Nunes coming out wide a little bit in the second half to get more involved in the game, because he was struggling in that first half. Was very interesting, and as I say, Rico Lewis was really good on the ball. Savinho stretched the play. For Bernardo Silva's a joy to watch, as he always is. But yeah, this felt like a City game and a City team that knew that they just needed to win. Perhaps there'll be much more interesting and exciting things to come on this channel in the next few weeks. But City start off this journey across English and European football. It was fairly flat around here, because I think City fans just know ultimately that they'll win most games. It didn't feel like there was that much jeopardy in the air, even at 1-0. As I say, they took the lead after 5 minutes, and that was it. And it does feel, as I say, like this City team, for whatever reason, lacks something that previous City teams didn't. Thanks very much for joining me on this first episode of this journey. Put some teams in the comments that you want me to go and watch and find out stories about. I'm going to be really, really excited to go down the leagues, as I say, League One, League Two, National League, abroad as well. I really want to go and watch some Dutch football, some German football. It all depends on what I'm doing in my diary and what I'm covering as well, but I'm hoping to I'm really excited about this project, and I really hope you come along on the ride with me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.